Hey guys, what's up? Shadow here, and I'm going to show you a bit of a little tutorial on how to make a good looking character in Dark Souls 2, Scholar of the First Sin. So, first thing you gotta do is pick your gender and your build. I generally don't mess with physique because that's a little ridiculous. Alright. Next most important thing is to select the homeland. Only because this changes the shape of your eye, and I haven't really been able to find a way to edit that otherwise. So this has kind of the most normal eye shape, so I usually pick that. Now, just gonna change the character up a little bit. Now I throw in some blues and a little bit of purple and red, usually when I'm working with kind of like a paler character. So the next thing you want to do, select your hair. I can edit the color at the end, just because that's going to kind of give you an overall view of what the final product is going to look like. So next I go to facial roundness and hit it a little bit more towards dull, just because that gives a more natural curve to the face. The rest you can kind of get into, but they're a little finicky. Next, cheekbone height. Now you kind of have to make sure you're turning your character from side to side throughout the process to get, a view of how these different sliders affect the character. So usually I put cheekbone pretty low, about 2 or 3 from the lowest setting. Increase the depth a couple points, and just do a quick little check. And you see how it kind of looks real smooth on the left hand side. That's kind of what you're going for if you want to get a nice kind of smooth face. Cheekbone spread, make it a little bit more narrow. And we will go back to the rest of these options in just a second. So the next thing that you want to do is the nose. Alright, now usually the first thing I do is increase the ridge depth a little bit over towards the longer side. So I want to make sure I get it as smooth as I can. If I put it a little bit more, you can start to see a little bump start forming in the middle of the nose. So then the ridge length, basically what this does is it doesn't move the nose back into the character's head, but it kind of brings the tip up a little bit. Alright. Next thing you want to do is increase the tip height of the nose. Basically, the next few steps that we're going to take, they're going to shorten the tip of the nose, so just kind of preventing that right off the front. Now, nose protrusion. Send it out a little bit. Now, next thing that I do is the nostril angle. Aim it up until you can. It's a little bit hard to line up just looking at it here, but you want to try and get the very tip of the nose to the same level or just a little bit below the character's earlobe. So that's why I have it on the side profile. Alright, now I'm gonna increase nostril size a little bit, and the character had a really wide nose to start out with, so I'm gonna narrow it down a little bit, which, if you notice, also pushes the nose out a little bit. Alright, so next thing we're going to work on is the mouth. First thing I do always is the occlusion. You want to make sure the upper lip is hanging slightly over the lower lip, which, as you can see, also changes the depth of your chin. Alright, you're going to make the lips protrude a little bit, about 5 or so should do it. Then go down to the second part for the mouth and push the mouth out again. This you kind of just have to do by eye depending on where you want the character's mouth to be. And I'm going to push that back a little bit. Now I'm going to start editing the lips real quick. Just change the color. Light blue gives you more of a natural flesh color. Want to have a little bit of a red to it. Alright, so just remember the blues kind of bring it more to a natural skin tone. Lip size. Now this doesn't do what you would think. When you increase the lip size, all it does is add a smile. See? So that's just something to keep in mind. Now I'm going to actually increase this a little bit. I like to have my characters with a little bit of a smile. Don't want to make it too dramatic just yet. Mostly because a lot of the next edits that we're going to be making will naturally just change the shape of her smile. So don't want to get too into that. Next, we're going to kind of decrease the lip thickness just a little bit. Not too much. And then fullness we're going to increase a little bit. And one quick edit to the occlusion. Okay. Now that we have this kind of general look, we're going to get into at this point you could technically just end, but I usually tend to take things a little bit further, so we're going to be going into the eyebrows. Actually, you know what, before that, we're going to change the eye position. For some reason, the natural eye position just seems to look a little bit odd when the final character is done. So what I tend to do is I lower the eyes a little bit. And I'm going to be going back and forth to this particular setting while I'm making these finer edits. Not going to mess with the eye size just yet. Now, actually, let me change the eye color. Gonna get kind of an ice blue. Now, I know they look completely white right now, but when they actually jump into the game, you're gonna see that they're a little bit of a darker blue. So going a little bit lighter in terms of your character's eyes kind of helps you gauge what it's actually going to look like. It's just going to be a little bit darker in game depending on the lighting. Alright, so next thing, I'm going to angle the eyes out just a little bit towards outer, because when we change the eyebrows, it's going to naturally change the curve, or the angle rather, of your eyes. Now let me go ahead, change the mouth a little bit more, widen it, and this is a really important little feature right here, the distance. Sometimes a lot of people complain and say that the mouth looks a little bit weird. This is kind of your best you know, kind of editing option for the mouth, in my opinion. Change the distance. Now, if you make it a long distance, gives you kind of a smirk. But if you change it to a bit shorter, it kind of naturally makes your character's mouth, you know, look a little bit more, well, the lips look a little bit more plump. So if you want to do that. Now, there was one thing I forgot to do earlier, and that was the mouth slant. Now, I usually put it a little bit further down, which kind of helps with the occlusion option that I was doing earlier. Kind of gives your character a natural overhang for the top lip. Now, this, don't make too much of an edit. At least I usually don't, and not for this tutorial. Just slightly towards cheery, and then we're gonna make the mouth a little bit more open. So let's go in and change lip thickness again, a little bit smaller. Now, I think I'm gonna go towards the cheeks again. Low enough. Cheek depth. When you use this, it kind of pushes the cheeks forward, not so much to the side, although it does have a slight effect on the kind of overall width of your face. So just be aware, if you change it a little too much, the character's cheeks puff out a little bit more. So just slight edits, little bit by little bit. And remember to keep checking the side. You want to make sure you get a good angled view of your character, because what looks good up front might turn out to be duck face from the side. And we don't want duck face. So change the eye spacing just a little bit. Don't make too much of an edit on this, because it starts to get really weird, and for some reason seems to change the orientation of the pupils. If you edit the spacing a little bit too much, you'll end up with a character that's cross-eyed. Alright, so I'm going to move this down again. Just kind of eye it out. Get it? Alright, no more bad jokes. Change the ridge depth a little bit more. Shorten, and this time I'm going to actually put the nostril angle a little bit further down. You want to try and get it, you know, to be completely level or a little bit below the earlobes, because you can see from this angle it looks really good. For some reason, looking at this side, character always seems a little bit weird. So I generally tend to view it from that angle. Alright, nostril size, I'm actually going to increase, because I want to get a little bit more of a pointy nose. Alright. Now, next part is the jaw. I'm going to push the jaw back just a little bit. Decrease the length. Small edits to the protrusion. Height, we're gonna move it up a little bit. It's a little hard to tell with the clouds moving in the background. I wish they had taken that out, but alright. Now, the outline, I usually, basically what this does, it kind of makes it look like your character has a very sharp jawline if you put it towards thin, and thick increases that, making it a little bit more bulky. I usually don't go towards the bulky side unless I'm working on a male character. I usually tend to slim it down a little bit. Now, in order to change the width of the jaw, you have to go up to shape 2 and jaw breadth. So I'm going to narrow that down a little bit, and after doing that, increase the thickness of the cheeks to keep that kind of rounded shape. I'm going to increase the depth a little bit more. And just going to move the nose down. Coming towards the end of this, so just bear with me. Move the mouth up a little bit. Now it's not going to look like it does much, you see, which brings me back to that option that I was telling you about, the distance. So I'm going to move this up, and then in order to actually see the real effect of that, I have to go back to distance from mouth to chin and make it a bit longer. And now the mouth moves a little bit further up into place. Going to increase the protrusion a little bit more. Again, these are just little fine, you know, details. And like I said, you always look at it from an angle, and I noticed that I wanted to increase the ridge depth a little bit more. Okay, so one last quick edit to make the character a little bit paler. Add a little blush. Doesn't show up too much, and I don't mess with it a lot, because it kind of, if you put a little bit too much blush, it kind of makes it look like you have a little red fuzzy beard. So, laugh lines, bright, but just a little bit. Cheek color, add a little bit of red. And then hair color. Now this is just one of the presets, but I'm just gonna kind of edit up a little bit to get kind of like a pale blonde. That looks about right. Now add some eyeshadow, eyeliner, and I usually add a little bit of red to the eyelid color, because if you don't, especially on some of the paler characters, the eyeshadow and eyeliner looks blue. I mean very, very bright blue. So, and of course that changed the lip color, so we're gonna make it a little bit more natural. And I think that's just about it for this character. One quick edit. I get very OCD with my characters, as you can probably tell. Otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. So, yeah, that's gonna be it for this. Let's kind of just take a look and see how the character looks in actual gameplay. Class and gift, of course, I'm going to be using a warrior, and I like to gamble, so petrified something. And that's it, so let's check it out.
All people come here for the same reason, to break the curse.
The curse of bad character creation. Now, they give you a little area to check right here. by this little candle, and voila, there you go. Good looking character, nice and pretty cool. So hope you guys enjoyed. I'm Shadow. I'll see you